What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of Fantasy Football Starts and Sits. We are heading into round number 2 of the playoffs. So, a couple of more weeks left in the NFL season. We're heading into week number 16. We'll have a game on Thursday, a couple of games on Saturday, and also on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So, let's get right into it. First up with the quarterback start of the week, Josh Allen. Didn't have to do too much in the Bills' victory. The Cowboys, 2 total touchdowns to 94 yards. Only 16 fantasy points, but it gets a very plus matchup this week going up against the Chargers team that just fired their head coach, the defense that just gave up 63 points to the Raiders. So if you have Josh Allen, feel very confident in starting Josh Allen. I think that he's really going to be one of the top quarterbacks this week. The Chargers, they rank 28th against fantasy quarterback. So Josh Allen has got to be maybe even, a top 3 quarterback, maybe even the top quarterback this week heading into week 16. So feel very confident in this one. James Cook, he had a big game. Maybe we see James Cook again, but I think that Josh Allen is going to be heavily used in this game against the Chargers defense as mightily throughout the season. Moving on to the running back start of the week, let's go on now to Jahmyr Gibbs. And Gibbs is coming off of a fantastic performance in week number 15, 100 yards and a touchdown. Good enough for 25.8, so he did a lot of his yardage through the receiving department too. He's projected 14.1. This is a negative matchup on paper, but you got to really love what Gibbs has been doing in his rookie season with Detroit. Detroit, has been an up and down team as of late, coming off of a good note there in week number 15. So I like this matchup against the Vikings. The Vikings really played well against the Bengals in that overtime loss. Nick Mullins is going to be starting in that one, so you don't know how the Vikings are going to be on the offensive side of the ball, but we know how the Lions are going to be. The way that Jared Goff played, he's coming off of a 5-touchdown performance. He's been absolutely rolling. So I love the rookie here. Loved him at the preseason too, Jahmyr Gibbs. So if you have him, plug him into your lineups this week, heading into the fantasy playoffs round number 2. Going on to the wide receiver start of the week. Now, the wide receiver start of the week at the time of this recording will be playing in tonight's game against the Seahawks. We'll see how he does. Seahawks ranked 28th against fantasy wide receivers, so we'll see if Brown has a big game. I'm sure that he will. Who knows if Jalen Hurts will play or not. But A.J. Brown going into this week's matchup has the Giants. The Giants ranked 30th against fantasy wide receivers. This is a plus matchup. That's definitely what we like to see in these fantasy football playoffs, when every point really matters in these tight matchups. So A.J. Brown, we'll see if Jalen Hurts, it's dealing with the stomach bug, it looks like, but I'm sure that Jalen Hurts will be back. The Eagles play on Christmas Day, so I'll get 7 days for this team to prepare for their next matchup against the Giants. Giants defense really got roughed up against the Saints. Derek Carr, he had a good game. So look for A.J. Brown to continue his really run of dominance. He's been a top 5 fantasy wide receiver this season. So roll against the Giants. Let's go on now to the sits of the week. Let's go on now to the quarterback sit of the week with Jordan Love. Jordan Love coming off an okay performance in the loss against the Buccaneers. Wasn't his fault that the Packers ended up dropping that game against Tampa. 284 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Tampa Bay defense. Good enough for 17.46 fans. This week's matchup, he gets another NFC South opponent in the Panthers. Panthers defense played really well in a rainy situation against the Falcons, a 9-7 game. But really don't really like this matchup for Jordan Love. Going up against the Panthers defense that's really finding their groove at the end of the season. The Panthers are one of the worst teams in the NFL, but all of a sudden looks like that defense, coming off of a performance against Atlanta. It was weather conditions, but don't really like this matchup for Jordan Love and the Packers. Probably not going to be a lot of points scored between both of these offenses. Moving on to the running back sit of the week. Now, Gus Edwards, he's been a touchdown scoring machine. He had one last night against in Sunday night's matchup against the Jaguars, he had a touchdown, 16 attempts, 58 yards. But this week, he gets the 49ers. 49ers ranked the 8th overall rush defense. So 49ers, this is a defense that I've been going after all season. So I know that Gus Edwards, he's really going to be dependent, I believe, on his touchdown. So if you think that he's going to get a touchdown, start him. If you don't, then sit him this week in the round number 2 in fantasy playoffs. Last but not least, the wide receiver sit of the week is Jerry Jeudy. He does get a kind of a good matchup here against the Patriots. The Patriots defense has been a question mark this whole entire season. Jerry Jeudy, 3 receptions, 74 yards in the Broncos game in week number 15, good enough for 10 points. That was one of his best outings this season. But I haven't been able to trust, Russell Wilson and Jerry Jeudy's connection. It's been very limited in Sean Payton's offense. So going up against the Patriots team, this might be a game that might get away. We'll see how the Patriots look heading into week number 16. There is some question marks surrounding that team overall. But with Jerry Jeudy, you need a player that's going to give you consistent fantasy points, especially when the time matters in these playoffs. So I would stay away from Jerry Jeudy. So that is your starts and sits heading into week number 16 of the NFL season.